This is a Caterpillar E300 excavator. It's made by Shinsei, and it's in 1/48 scale. Now this is a pretty interesting model. Not because it's, unique or anything, or special really, but the story behind it. So you notice I said it's an E300. Well, Caterpillar started building their own excavators in the 70s with the 225s and 245s and all that. And they built them themselves for about 15 years. And when it came time to update them and, bring out a new generation of excavators, they figured out that it was a better plan to find somebody else that had a better product and form a partnership and then rebrand the other excavators as Caterpillar. And that's what they did with Mitsubishi. So Mitsubishi already had these excavators that they were building under their own name. They had the full line, everything. Caterpillar come in and said, okay, we'll buy so many, whatever, however it works. And they just rebranded it. It's a Mitsubishi excavator, but it's a Caterpillar E300. What's interesting is this was just the start of a very long partnership with Mitsubishi. Eventually, most of the forklifts from Caterpillar were actually Mitsubishi's. And all their compact equipment, the skid loaders and mini excavators, the compact track loaders, they all use Mitsubishi diesel engines because Caterpillar really doesn't build a diesel engine below 75 horsepower. They just don't. It's cheaper and easier for them to just use Mitsubishis instead. And they're pretty reliable motors anyway. The Mitsubishi stuff is really pretty decent. So anyway, so they got the E300 here. Now, they kept this series for about, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so. And then they transitioned into the 330s that they kept for, I don't know, 20 years. And, the 30 series of 320, 330, 315, all that nonsense. So, for about 5 years, give or take, is when you had these, they were strictly Mitsubishi built, but Caterpillar branded excavators. And that also helps to explain why Shinsei is the manufacturer and the box is predominantly in Japanese. So anyway, there's that. Now, what's also interesting is these were really pretty hard to come by for a very long time, just because they're just different. You can see the, I guess that's a warning label or something, all in Japanese. So you had to get it from a Caterpillar dealership, basically, if you wanted to get one. Now, in the early days, I won't say the early days of the internet, but the early days of, eBay and whatnot, if you wanted to get one of these, well, first off, if you saw one of these at a show, and even then, before the days of the internet, when you could only find these at like toy shows or like Con Expo, stuff like that, they were still pretty expensive. And then, well, for a lot of reasons, they were expensive because if you had one, you're in that situation where you could charge anything you want, and whoever wanted it was either going to buy it or they weren't, and you were getting paid either way. So when the internet first come around, not when it first come around, eBay first started coming around, and these things started getting sold on eBay, they sold for anywhere between $250 and $400 just because they're uncommon. They're not, you don't see them every day because they only made the real machine for about 5 years, I think. I'm not certain, but I think it was about 5 years. There's just not a whole lot of them out there. Now, is it worth $400? Absolutely not. Sure, it's a nice machine. Sure, it's uncommon, but $400? Get out of here. So anyway, all that aside, it's a decent model. The boom is pretty loose. It leaves a lot to be desired. The stick is hollow. The boom is hollow. The cab is, it doesn't have a whole lot going on, but it's not terrible. For the time period, it's pretty decent. For the uniqueness of it, it's pretty decent. And all things considered, it's not terrible. It is interesting to have because it's such a small run of models that, they were out there in the real world. There's not a whole lot of them out there left still running, but they're there. You see them every once in a blue moon. And there's one more thing I wanted to point out. So even on the box, you have the Mitsubishi logo alongside the Caterpillar. And that's kind of neat. You don't have it on the machine, but you sure do have it on the box. And it's just kind of interesting. Anyway, that's about it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask. If there's anything you'd like to see, let me know. As always, thanks for watching, and please subscribe.